Hi everyone, Fraser here from the Most Dangerous Podcast. If you've been enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us to reach more people like you who love the show. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at The Most Dangerous Pod and join the conversation on Facebook at The Most Dangerous Podcast. For those of you who want to go the extra mile, we're on Buy Me a Coffee. So if you'd like to support the show with a small donation, it would mean the world to us. And if you have any suggestions or feedback and want to get in touch, you can email us at jamesandfraserpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
That's bollocks. Even if the rest's true, that bit's bollocks.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Most Dangerous Podcast. We're back after, life got in the way last week, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
You were busy you were busy Friday, and then my daughter's birthday on Saturday, so we didn't have a chance to record. So we're sorry, but we are back this week with a brand new episode for you all. As usual, I'm James, and over there is Fraser. How are you doing?
I'm okay, yeah. Been fine. I get really depressed if we don't record. It's like one of the highlights of my week, I think, just getting some shit off my chest on a Friday night. And like, we didn't record and I felt crap all week.
It did feel a bit odd because we said it got a bit late on a Friday and then we thought, okay, well, we can do it Saturday. I completely forgot about my daughter's birthday, which is good of me. And then it was getting later and later on the Saturday, and I just got to a certain point. I was like, shit, I can't do this. It's just going to go. Otherwise, we'd be recording at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, and plus, she had a sleepover. There was loads of kids here. So, never mind. It's one of those.
Yeah, we do always say this, if we can't do it properly, we're not going to do it at all. But I just kind of took the huff a little bit and didn't put anything on Facebook to apologise for no episodes or anything. So we're back. We're here. We're alive.
You say if you can't do it well, we don't do it at all. We haven't heard this episode yet, so
okay.
It's a bit of a. What I was going to do, in fact, before I tell you what I was going to do, I was just thinking about this before, and our little discussion before recording sort of triggered a memory. So earlier today, I was cutting my toenails. Right, everyone has to do it. It's not a nice thought, but you do have to do it. I was there, and as we're getting older, our bodies are kind of sort of failing us a little bit, and we're sort of hunching over and stuff. And I was like, not struggling, but it was getting a bit of like, it's quite difficult to do. And I was thinking to myself, like, who the fuck is going to cut my toenails when I'm like proper old?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to do that? Like, that's such a grim thought, though.
I wonder if old people just have long toenails.
Yeah, no, they must, like, someone must have to do it for them.
Yeah.
Please let us know, listeners, if you're of a certain age and you have assistance with people cutting your toenails. Because
do you get an extra long toenail cutter?
Well, maybe.
I do.
Selfie stick.
Yeah. I can't put my shoes on standing up anymore. I have to sit down. Like, I can't just bend over and pull my leg up and put my shoe on. I have to sit down on something. That's really bad, isn't it?
Luckily, mine's just slip on. So not like the ones in the Sunday catalogues. I've got like proper trainers.
Yeah.
The ones I mean. But
have you got those Skechers ones you can just step into? I quite like the idea of that.
Not those, the ones on the Sunday catalogue where like they're sort of generic brown shoes.
It's just a loafer. Is it a loafer they call them?
I think something like that.
It's always a drawing, never a picture.
Yeah. No, I've got some nice Nike Air Bubbles, me. So thank you very much.
When you were saying about people when you get old who cuts your toenails, I saw something the other day and I can't stop thinking about it. How do blind people know when to stop wiping their bum?
Yeah, that's another good one. Throwing them all out there. You get the dog to sniff it for them.
Maybe, yeah. The dog barks when the toilet paper's still white.
Anyway, so how many people have been insulted there?
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that I did have an idea for an episode and I was all ready for it. Well, kind of ready for it last week, and I was reading through it, getting prepped for this week, and I thought, this is shit, and it's dead boring.
Yeah.
And what it was mass extinctions. Right? Did you know there's been 5 mass extinctions? Like 5 of them in throughout history.
Can I guess?
No, there has been 5. There's nothing to guess, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but what they were. Like, there was the big comet.
The dinosaur one. Yeah,
it was the Ice Age?
No.
No? Oh, right, I don't know then.
But yeah, they're all... The dinosaur one is the last one.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're all before that. And yeah, like, it was quite interesting to read about, but it's boring for a podcast because, first of all, you need maps because the world shifted a lot in that time. So it's not very good to do it over sort of an audio medium.
Yeah.
Second of all, the same thing happens in all of them. Like, everything dies. Do you know what I mean? So unless you go really sciencey and kind of go sort of down that route and say, oh, well, the Earth's atmosphere changed by this percentage of sodium, whatever. It just gets a bit boring, you see. So I've had to mix it up. I've had to change it at the very last minute. So I'm sorry about this because, I've decided to do Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Because, we're doing nature, aren't we? This is the last nature episode, and Bigfoot lives in nature, I suppose. So
I suppose he does, yeah. We won't be able to do them if we do cryptids at some stage.
Well, we could do, because this is a very kind of, as I say, skim over the top of Bigfoot, I would say. So we could revisit
shit in the woods.
We can certainly revisit if you asked if cryptids comes out of the hat and you're struggling with an episode.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's what we're doing today.
Okay. So James, before we get onto this wonderful world of Bigfoot, are the Hendersons in it, or is it just Bigfoot?
I don't think they get a mention. They do talk about sort of you'll find out.
Right, fair enough. Before we go on to it, we've had an email. Would you believe?
What? We've had an email.
I know.
Fantastic.
I accidentally checked our emails because I don't really bother anymore, because I get emails off 3 people, basically Podcastle, Acast, and something else I signed up for and then cancelled.
Yeah, and then other people who are trying to sell you like pyramid schemes.
Shit, yeah, just utter shite that I've started reading just to make me feel wanted. But so we've had an email from our good friend Bill.
Bill, long-time listener. How you doing, Bill?
Yeah, well, he says he's fine, but the worrying thing was he said that he couldn't find us on Buy Me a Coffee.
Really? Maybe that's why we're not getting any donations. Well, maybe probably not.
He said he wasn't going to give us any money, but he was looking for us just to see if we were there. But
oh, really? What's the point of that?
He said
he wasn't either, Bill.
He said he wasn't sure. He was playing poker and stuff. So, but yeah, Bill was asking for you, asking for us, saying he's enjoying the show. Says he likes to listen to it late on a Monday night. But yeah, he did. He suggested we talk about lobotomies.
Oh, right. Okay. That's an idea.
It's an idea. I think it's a really interesting subject. I think lobotomies, whether we could put that in the pot, probably not, because it's probably a 1-episode subject, but maybe we'll try and think of something we can put in the pot that could encompass lobotomies. What
we could do is do it as a bonus episode and put it behind a paywall, so Bill would actually have to donate us some money to listen to it.
There we go. That's a plan. But no, we appreciate your email, Bill. Hope you're doing well. It's good to hear from you.
Nice one. Thanks, Bill. Right, okay, moving on. Should we just get cracking then?
Yeah, I think so. People are fed up of us, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got nothing to say, really, that I haven't already. So Bigfoot, everyone knows Bigfoot. And like I said, he does live in the woods, so it is related to nature. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm having that.
So before we start, is Bigfoot different to Sasquatch and Yeti?
So Yeti is the one over in the sort of Asia, Himalayas.
Snowy Bigfoot.
Yeah, and Bigfoot is known as Sasquatch.
Right, okay.
So this is the USA version that we're going to talk about.
Big brown fella that lives in the woods.
That's right, yeah. So Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is one of the most enduring and mysterious figures in North American folklore.
Wow.
It's been talked about for centuries, and he's captivated, or could be a woman. He and she, I imagine there's both a male and a female Bigfoot.
It'd have to be.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope so. It's not just one, I don't think. Captivated imaginations with reported sightings, myths, and legends, and it continues to intrigue both believers and skeptics alike to this day.
Wow.
So the history of Bigfoot is intertwined with indigenous lore, folklore traditions, modern cryptozoology, and popular culture. And its roots run, the story of Bigfoot's roots run deep into both ancient and contemporary narratives.
Wow.
So cryptozoology, I was thinking about this. Is that a job?
So it's like, see, Laura, my good wife, she has, her degree is in zoology.
Zoology,
Sure.
I get that because you're studying animals.
So can you go and get a university degree in fake animals?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And how do you get a job, and like, how do you study it? Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of go, yeah, I'm a cryptozoologist. Like, I saw some stuff on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Who's going to mark your work?
Yeah, this is all bollocks. No
You're
shit.
wrong. Prove it. Bigfoot's got 4 fingers. No, he's got 5, I'm sure. All right, okay.
He farts rainbows. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he does. Okay, yeah. So the origins of Bigfoot in North American culture can be traced back to the indigenous people of the Pacific Northwest. So indigenous tribes, particularly those from that area. So this is modern day Washington, British Columbia, Oregon, North California, sort of down that way. The natives long told stories of a large, mysterious, human-like creature living in the forests, mountains, and wilderness areas. These creatures, they often called Sasquatch. It does say Yeti here, but like I say, I think that was more.
Yeah, when I think of a Yeti, it's a white thing, like a white furred thing that
the abominable snowman.
The snowman, yeah, that fella.
Yeah. So this might be like a different species, maybe. So yeah, the Sasquatch, it's all integrated into the spiritual and cultural traditions of many Native American tribes. So, it's been around for a long time. For instance, the Salish people of the Pacific Northwest describe the Sasquatch as a powerful and elusive being, a giant, hairy figure that's rarely seen by humans. And it's also believed to be able to shapeshift, apparently. But there we go.
Bollocks. Even if the rest's true, that bit's bollocks.
Yeah. These indigenous stories were not only simple tales of the strange and unknown, they were often served as a cautionary tale and spiritual teachings. The creatures were believed to possess deep wisdom and were sometimes seen as guardians of nature. They were often associated with the wild and untamed forces of the forest, teaching respect for nature and the environment. The creature's elusiveness, combined with its spiritual significance, made the Sasquatch a part of indigenous culture identities, transcending mere myth. So moving on. So this is sort of the origin story of Bigfoot. If you get this, if they do a movie, first one would be the indigenous stories and things like that. So moving on then to the sort of later on into sort of the 19th and 20th century. So while stories of large hairy creatures in the wilderness existed long before European settlers, it wasn't until the 19th century that the figure of Bigfoot began to gain attention in Western culture. The term Bigfoot itself became popular in the 1950s, but sightings and reports of large, mysterious creatures were not new. So, Fraser, do you know when the first recorded account of Bigfoot occurred?
No, tell me.
Well, I will tell you. It was done in 1811. The first account was recorded, and it was done in the so nearly 200 years ago, over 200 years ago, in the journals of David Thompson. So he was a fur trapper and an explorer. The world was very different then.
I'm just trying to think. So America then was very much still the muddy streets, the wooden buildings, the spit and sawdust.
Yeah.
Whorehouses and
the good old days.
Red Dead Redemption type stuff, isn't it?
Cowboys and Indians, yeah.
Yeah. Native Americans.
Yeah, so he was a fur trapper and an explorer, right. So he used to walk about and kill animals, basically. And he reported seeing giant human tracks in the wilderness. This was in British Columbia. However, it was only in the late 1800s that sightings of creatures resembling Bigfoot became more widespread and gained more public attention.
Right.
So one of the earliest known references to a creature resembling Bigfoot in popular media was in 1929, when a Seattle newspaper reported a story about a giant ape-like creature seen by miners in the Cascade Mountains of Washington.
Okay. Do we talk about The Simpsons Season 1, Episode 6?
No.
No, okay.
What happened in that?
Where they go camping and the camper van gets all smashed up and Homer falls in like a big pond and also eats a bee's nest and runs about covered in mud going and they think he's Bigfoot. Right, yeah. And they go out hunting him.
And someone snaps a picture of him. I remember that. Yeah. No, well, this is 1929, so Homer wasn't around then.
Ah, right, yeah.
But no, we don't want to talk about that, unfortunately. I forgot about that.
There's one of my favourite ever Simpsons bits is where he says, we'll use this small sapling to snare ourselves a rabbit. So he bends a tree and makes like a little snare out of it. And the rabbit goes into it. And the tree fecks the rabbit about 300 miles ago.
Just hear it in the distance. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So this Seattle newspaper reported of seeing an ape-like creature in the mountains of Washington, Cascade Mountains. So in the following years, similar reports emerged from all over the Pacific Northwest, from British Columbia to California, and as the 20th century progressed, Bigfoot sightings continued to grow in number.
Wow.
It wasn't until the 1950s, however, that Bigfoot became a truly recognised figure in American popular culture. In 1958, a reporter named Andrew, it's either Genzoli or Genzoli, published an article in the Humboldt Times in California, which introduced the term Bigfoot to the public. The article described large human-like footprints discovered by a bulldozing crew working in Bluff Creek, an area of North California. And these prints, which measured up to 15 inches long, were dubbed Bigfoot by the local community.
Wow. And
this marked the beginning of Bigfoot's rise to fame. And from this point, the creature became a topic of widespread fascination. So in the years that followed, there were numerous reports of sightings and strange tracks discovered through the Pacific Northwest, further fueling the myth of Bigfoot. The public's interest in the creature expanded beyond the confines of the local communities where the sighting occurred, and soon people across all of the country were intrigued by the possibility of a hidden cryptid species lurking in the forests of North America. Now, in 1967, perhaps one of the most iconic events in Bigfoot history or Bigfoot lore occurred. I bet you know what it is.
No.
You must do.
1967.
1967, there's a really Well, how do you know about Bigfoot?
From Harry and the Hendersons.
Okay, right. No. So in 1967, a chap called Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, two men from Washington, filmed what is now considered one of the most famous pieces of evidence for Bigfoot's existence. The Patterson-Gimlin film is a 59-second clip which shows a large humanoid creature walking across a creek bed in Bluff Creek. Yeah. And although the footage is shaky, it clearly shows something. A big thing.
I know the bit of footage.
Yeah, everyone's seen it. I mean, it's even on the start of some like shows and stuff. Like it's been in films and all sorts. Like it's just everywhere. If you think of Bigfoot, everyone knows it. It's that one where it's like obviously a bloke in a suit and he just turns around and goes, "All right," gives him a wave or something like that.
Yeah.
It might not be a bloke in the suit. I don't know. It looked a bit suspicious to me. Anyway, the creature the creature in the film this is referring to is often referred to as Patty. Patty, yeah.
Right.
Patty, as in that's her name. So obviously it's Bigfoot, but they've named her Patty.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Following. Still there? Still awake?
Still there. I'm watching the little film. I just
right, okay.
I'm listening to you, don't worry.
So Patty became the cornerstone of Bigfoot's visual image. The film's authenticity has been the subject of much debate, with some experts arguing that the creature seen in the video is a man in a costume, while others believe it could be genuine.
Yeah. I'm just watching the video just now. It's a really shame that the cameraman had Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, I mean, it is 1967, so it's quite...
Or was he pissed or something?
I mean, you think of the technology then. It's quite amazing. They actually have a handheld recorder in the woods at the time. Which, I mean, that raises more questions, doesn't it, I suppose? Like, why was it... Did they have handheld recorders then? You know, like the old...
Yeah, they must... They had, because I've seen my grandparents' family videos on a thing that was called a cine camera, and you had to, like, turn... It was like a handheld camera, but it had proper film in it, and you had to turn it as you were recording. And that's why the speed's always out, because it relied on you turning the crank at the right speed to...
I don't remember them, but I've seen them.
So there's video of like my mum when she was young, and she was born in 57, so that's 67. So
right,
yeah, so they did have them.
Okay. So despite the controversies surrounding its legitimacy, the Patterson-Gimlin film remains one of the most famous pieces of Bigfoot evidence, cementing the creature's place in cryptozoology and popular culture. It goes a bit hazy here. That's it. That's all that's happened in Bigfoot history.
Right.
So in the years that followed the film, Bigfoot became a focal point for cryptozoologists. These are, as we discussed, researchers dedicated to studying animals whose existence is unproven by mainstream science.
Right.
You couldn't make it up, or you literally could. Numerous expeditions were launched in search of evidence, with researchers combing forests, collecting footprints, and analysing audio recordings. Some notable organisations, such as the Bigfoot Field Research Organisation, BFRO, were founded to document sightings and provide a platform for those who believed in the creature's existence. So in the 1970s and the 1980s, we saw an explosion of Bigfoot-related media, documentaries, books, televisions, series. Bigfoot and the Hendersons was a bit later, I think. Was that 90s?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and so basically, this legend Bigfoot reached out to global audiences. And Bigfoot sightings continue today. They've been reported all throughout North America. From the dense forest of the Pacific Northwest, can't even say that, to the Appalachian Mountains and even parts of the Midwest. And every new sighting brings renewed enthusiasm to search for the creature.
It's a really strange thing because there's a lot of mythical creatures out there: unicorns, fairies, leprechauns, dragons and stuff like that. But there are a couple that there's so many people convinced they've seen it, like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. And you think, is it that people want to believe it so much that they think they're seeing it? Or is there something out there that isn't quite a big giant man walking about, some kind of creature?
Yeah. Can we park this discussion?
Yeah. Okay.
Because what we'll do at the end is we'll have a chat about the validity of the sightings and whether we think it's real or because I know which side of the fence. Well, I don't actually, but I'd rather if we can have a sort of a concluding part at the end where we go into that. So that's sort of generally Bigfoot. You know, everyone's seen it. There's some really good stuff on like I think it might have been Amazon. One of these subscription services did a series where a chap thinks he knows the location of where there is like a Bigfoot. What do you call it? Like a home, like where some of them live.
His nest, wherever he lives.
Yeah, you can't. It's not really like that's an insect thing, isn't it? A nest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, Warren or something. but like he goes there and he stays, and the footage is really convincing. Like at night, you hear stuff and there's stone thrown and stuff like that, and there's really good stuff on YouTube as well. I mean, sometimes you're kind of a bit like it's YouTube, but there are sort of decent sort of people on there, and production. The standard of production of videos has sort of obviously increased so much over time. So if anyone's interested in that, I do highly recommend you sort of dig out some stuff. And you'll see like the later sightings. I think it's the 1961 that really sort of pushed it into the limelight, but there's been other ones. I think there's almost sightings sort of weekly if you believe YouTube.
Yeah,
there's loads of stuff to have a look. But one specific event I just wanted to sort of delve into a little bit more and discuss. It's only a quick thing, but I don't think it gets sort of mentioned that much because everyone just focuses on that sort of video, and that was the origins of Bigfoot. But this is an incident called the Ape Canyon incident.
Right.
So this happened in 1924, and it is one of the most famous and enduring stories of Bigfoot lore. But like I said, I don't think it gets sort of mentioned that much. Now, it's a dramatic tale involving a violent encounter between a group of miners and alleged ape-like men.
Right.
So,
this is like coal miners or children?
Like coal miners.
Miners.
Yeah. Not miners as in, ER. Yeah. So the story's been recounted for coming on, exactly 100 years, over and over again. And it remains the cornerstone of cryptid folklore. It's steeped in mystery, skepticism, but the story has left a mark on the history of Bigfoot sightings, and from that point sparked a widespread fascination with the creature, which snowballed, and obviously, as we spoke about.
Yeah.
So Ape Canyon, it's located in the southern east shoulder of Mount St. Helens in Washington State.
Right.
It's an area known for its rugged wilderness and dense forest. So in the summer of 1924, a group of 5 miners, Fred Beck, Gabe Lefeur, John Peterson, Marion Smith, and Smith's son called Roy, so Roy Smith. So they set up camp in a remote location while looking for gold. So the men had already spent some time in the canyon, so they sort of knew the area. They're quite common with it. Obviously, men, a bit like Murray Mears type people, who weren't scared of the wilderness.
Know what they're doing.
Know what they're doing. So they set up camp, and then they reportedly heard sort of eerie whistling sounds, sort of coming around sort of in the woods and things like that. So a bit confused about what's going on. And they reported that they saw enormous human-like footprints around the cabin. So they got to this cabin that they were staying in, and around the cabin, they start hearing whistling in the woods, and it's all a bit weird. And they get to this cabin, and there's huge footprints in the ground. Now, these occurrences, they're starting to feel a bit sort of uneasy about this, and they get into the cabin, set up camp, and things like that. And they're starting to feel a little bit uneasy. And what they didn't realise is these sort of small things, this whistling and the footprints, will set the stage for what became known as the Ape Canyon incident. So according to Fred Beck's later account, the incident reached its climax on the night of the 13th of July 1924. Earlier that day, Beck claims that he was walking in the forest and he looked up and saw on a ridge a huge ape-like figure. So, like any good American, what he decided to do is take a shot at it with his gun, as you do. And this was quite near the cabin, but anyway, he was walking back. I'll pot shot at that.
Yeah.
So that night, when the men were sleeping in their cabin, they were awakened by a terrifying assault. Sorry. Now, large rocks were being hurled at the cabin.
What the hell?
The miners reported hearing sort of animalistic guttural growls, banging on the side of the walls and on the cabin, sort of huge bangs and things like that. And they said they even saw arms reaching through the logs of the cabin to try and get to them.
Yeah.
Now, it's 1924, so it's not like a luxury cabin that you get these days when you go on holiday. Obviously, it's one of these ones that's just been thrown up in the woods.
Yeah.
So these animals are kind of reaching through and trying to grab them. So obviously pissed them right off for taking a shot at them.
Yeah, you'd be a bit, You really want arms going through your cabin, do you?
No. So Mr. Beck described the assailants as giant, hairy and ape-like, standing about 7 feet tall. And through the night, the miners defended themselves, firing their rifles at the creatures outside. The attack reportedly lasted for several hours, ceasing only when dawn approached.
Mm-hmm.
And then when morning came, the men cautiously emerged from the cabin to find large stones scattered around the area and more giant footprints leading away from the site.
What the hell? And they hadn't just stumbled across some Geordie hen party, no?
Well, probably not there. Now, okay, we'll come on. All right, well, it's not in the order of my script here, but okay. Mm-hmm. So, critics have argued that there's a couple of theories. One, they could have been mistaken, that it could have just been bears.
Right,
They're big
hairy arms. Yeah.
They're big and hairy. They've got big footprints, and if you piss them off, they're going to come at you and smash on things. But like I say, they were kind of like the miners. They'd been in the area before. They knew what a bear looked like.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that one, but perhaps the strongest sort of theory against it is that at the time, because they're looking for gold, and at the time there were various different groups of miners, fractions of different people, all doing the same thing. So people were kind of essentially fighting for the land.
Yeah.
Now there is a theory that it wasn't actually; it was just a group of rival miners who wanted to scare them out of the area because they wanted the land that they were on, basically.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't see anything, and all they heard was rocks being thrown and banging and things like that, and they were just so frightened that they just thought they saw some stuff.
Yeah, imagination runs away with itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, really. Like I say, it's a very famous story in this part of the world if you're into Bigfoot stuff and cryptozoology.
I've looked that up while you were talking. Do you know what a UK-based cryptozoologist gets paid?
About nothing, because it's not even a thing.
21 grand a year.
Really?
Yeah, that's the average. So it's a thing you can actually become.
A thing, right?
What it actually is, it's the study of like the stories to basically see if
they're real,
or not, and whether it becomes. Is it a cryptid or is it something that's real?
Right. Just I mean, someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be quite an interesting job, though, to be honest. Because you kind of like half of it is reading stories, and the other half is just going out in the woods.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you could make it up, couldn't you?
Well, it is made up.
Well, that's what I mean. So you could make anything. Oh, yeah, Bigfoot's got 17 arseholes.
Yeah,
like
if we do get cryptids out of the pot next week, there's some really mad stuff. Like, you just think there's no way. Like, there's no way, absolutely no way. But I suppose that moves us on to sort of our little discussion about Bigfoot then.
Yeah,
because where do you sort of sit on it? What do you reckon?
So you're asking me what I believe. I think that. Right, is it the Mariana Trench? Is that the deepest bit of the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one right in the middle of the Atlantic, is it? This sort.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like it's
Is it?
deeper than where the Titanic is. It's like fucking right down there.
Yeah.
And only a couple of people in the world have been there, including James Cameron. And we've scanned the whole Mariana Trench, right? So we can see little living organisms that are there. We've seen everything that's down there, right?
Right.
But
I mean, but we still don't know a lot about the oceans.
Well,
we know more. We know more about space apparently than we do the actual oceans.
Okay, but we can go all the way down there, but we can't yet tell whether or not there's a Loch Ness monster. I don't believe that, and I don't believe that we can put something on Mars, and we can find out if the Russians have got weapons and the Iranians and stuff like that, but we can't tell whether or not there's a Bigfoot in a forest.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think that if it was there, today's technology would know it was there.
Well, this is where I am as well. Like, because I'm kind of on the fence with this.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's definitely a species of animal that we've not discovered. I'm quite sure that new discoveries of new species are being discovered pretty much every day.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't hear about them. So we only hear about the big ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's quite possible that there is something we don't know about in the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the other side of me is like, where's the evidence though, right?
Yeah.
All we've got are shaky camera footage
Mm-hmm.
and footprints, both of which can be quite easily mocked up or faked, right? Where are the bones? Where's the large shits everywhere?
Yeah.
Where's the hair? That's the thing. The evidence that we've got doesn't seem to stack up to say that there are these huge 7 foot, 8 foot ape-like creatures living in the woods.
Well, you said the most important thing, the bones. There must be a Bigfoot somewhere that's died.
Exactly, yeah. So why haven't we found, remains?
For probably 15 years now, every man and his dog's got some kind of mobile phone that records.
Yeah.
All right, 100 years ago, it was just documented things from people that had seen it and drawn a picture of it. But you can't do anything now. Everywhere you go, someone's filming you.
Well, and that's another point as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone that you've got the camera that you've got on your phone is, full HD, all the bells and whistles. So how come every time you see one of these Bigfoot videos, they're shaky as fuck and the weather's really terrible and it can quite easily be mistaken for something else because, the person's a million miles away. It's like a dot on the horizon. So, I don't know. Like, I'd like it to be real. Wouldn't it be great if one day someone said, I've got definitive proof that in those woods over there's a massive ape man that lives there. Like, I think that'd be, everyone just go, whoa, that's insane. Whereas I just don't think there's enough to say that there is at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. Like I say, I'm on the fence. I'd love it to be real. I just don't think there's enough evidence there to say that it is at the moment. But I do hope that these people that are looking for it continue to do it. Because although it's been a whistle stop tour tonight, I love the idea of it. I love the stories.
Yeah. What I was going to say though, I know you've just wrapped it up there, but my dogs have been a pain in the arse tonight. If you hear any of them in the background,
I've been talking to myself for the past 20 minutes.
I've done the best I can. But what I was going to say, everything that I've said about if they were there nowadays, there'd be evidence. What I find really interesting is two cultures. So the Nepalese and the Northwest Americans, 200 years ago, probably didn't have any contact with each other. Very, very little. One explorer, maybe, something like that. But yet they've both come up with a creature very similar to Bigfoot and the Yeti.
That's very true.
And you think,
and
that's interesting.
These stories as well, the folklore, the myths, like they're not just, they pluck them out the air. Usually it's based on something, isn't it? So,
and you got mythical creatures like fairies, like I was trying to say before, fairies and goblins and unicorns and all that. No one's ever actually claimed to have seen any of these, not properly. But yet Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, there's kind of the loads,
the
thousands of
go-to
people believe
cryptids.
they've seen. Yeah. It's the same with ghosts. It's like there's so many people that really believe that they've seen ghosts that does make you think. It just gives you that 1% where you think maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Whereas I'm 100% sure there isn't fairies, leprechauns, and goblins.
Yeah, only weirdos have seen those.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, yeah, well, that's true as well, because when you hear about the stories, with Bigfoot and ghosts as well and things like that,
Yeah.
usually, and I do mean usually,
Mhm.
it's normal people.
Yeah.
I was just walking in the woods and I heard some rustling and I seen this fuck off big ape thing.
Yeah.
You do get crazies, obviously, like, but and like the same with ghosts as well. Just normal people living in houses and shit happens. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't decide. Like I say, I hope it's true.
I think with today's technology, we'd know.
It's just the bones. We need the bones. Find a bone. Show me a bone, and I'll be happy.
Do you know what'll happen? See, like imagine like Shaquille O'Neal wanders off into the woods and dies. And they find his bones.
Imagine that.
They might think that he's Bigfoot.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be the news. It'd be the fact that he wandered off into the woods and just died.
Yeah, true.
But there is actually another story, not a Bigfoot story.
Yeah,
and I think we'll cover it on another pod at a later date. There's a cave in like somewhere in America, and they found like loads of bones, human bones, but they put them all together, and it was like 9 foot tall people.
Bloody hell!
Like the giant people. Oh, we'll come on to that. Maybe that was Bigfoot.
Yeah, but there's. I mean, I made a video today about North Sentinel Island for my new Wrong History.
Oh, you're going to plug that now?
Dicking about with that. No, I'm not plugging it. But like North Sentinel Island, there's people there we know nothing about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway,
who knows? Anyway, we waffled on enough there, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Bigfoot. Hope you enjoyed it.
That's nature.
And that's nature. We're done. That was hard. That.
Yeah, it was.
It was tough. But yeah, so next week, I think we're doing another draw, aren't we?
Yes, it's a little episode, a draw. Just chat about our week.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a more interesting week than we've had this week.
We'll try and do something so we can talk about it.
Dangerous news.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll do one of them.
Yeah.
Not done that for a while, have we? I think there should be enough news now.
I know. We'll have a wee look. Well, maybe we'll bring one dangerous news each, maybe, and we'll do the draw.
All right, cool. So, yeah, that's been the Most Dangerous podcast this week. Thank you, Bill, for listening, and everybody else.
Yes, yeah, all the dedicated listeners.
With all the dedicated listeners, of course. We love the fact that you listen and tune in, and thanks very much for your comments and feedback, and we really appreciate it. So we'll see you next week.
Thanks, James. See you then. Take care.